This is Kevin Harrington, original shark from Shark Tank, inventor of the infomercial, and you're listening to Jamy Bechler from Success is a Choice.
Providing insights to help you grow your business, improve yourself, and add value to those around you. You're listening to the Success is a Choice podcast, where you get a peek into the lives of industry leaders as they share their stories with you.
Welcome to Success is a Choice podcast. I'm your host, Jamy Bechler. Imagine being a high school dropout, but eventually starting a company that would make $50 million a year. That's what today's guest has done. Brad Lee is the owner and founder of LightSpeed VT, which is the world's largest online training platform. Brad is the father of virtual training, as he is the world's leading authority on monetizing content. If you have done any online training whatsoever, you've probably used his platforms. It's a pleasure to have Brad Lee on with us today. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, coming at us, live from Las Vegas. A great place to be. We appreciate you being here today. I gave a little bit of your bio in your introduction, but kind of fill in the gaps. Give us a little bit more of a snapshot of where you come from to get to where you are right now.
You know, it's been a long road, I can tell you. I started out, obviously, in a Pacific Northwest town called Cottage Grove, Oregon. Dropped out of school when I was 16 for various reasons, and just kind of, hit the streets. And through that experience, learned, I think, a little more than people that went the college route and stayed in school. And, just applied that throughout life to navigate and, stay alive, survive. And then when I was about 30 years old, I kind of woke up and thought, man, I better get moving. And that's when I kind of really decided to start a company and become an entrepreneur. So that's really the nutshell of it.
And it's been all rainbows and butterflies since.
Oh, yeah.
Life has been great.
Yeah.
Well, the name of this podcast is Success is a Choice. And I'm curious with you, how have you defined and measured success throughout your career?
That's why I agreed to do this podcast, Jamie, is the name of it. I wholeheartedly agree that success is a choice. Matter of fact, you can really tell a person's, choices by the quality of their life. So your life is a reflection of your choices. And success is simply a choice. I agree 1,000% with that. So I apologize. I want to just point that out because, of the title of your podcast, which made me want to do it because I agree with it wholeheartedly.
Well, I've done one thing right then. I found the right title to a podcast. That's good. I should write a book by that title and get you to do the foreword.
My pleasure, because it's true. I mean, for your listeners, listen, when it boils down to it, it's all about choices. You wake up every single day and you are required to make choices throughout the day. The better the choices you make, the better your life will be. Success is simply a choice. You choose to succeed. And then once you've made that decision and that choice, you really embark on making a whole bunch of additional choices daily, even little ones. What do you eat? Do you go to the gym? When do you stop working? Who do you call? Who do you greet? What do you say? It all boils down to choices. It's crazy how simple it actually is.
So let's explore that a little bit more. You said when you were 30 years old, you just kind of woke up and realized you needed to do something, and you became an entrepreneur. Talk about that choice and a little bit more about, why you did wake up. What was it that you knew you needed to do, and how did you go about doing it?
Well, a lot of these people will talk about, their whys. My why was just to make money. Like I was making about anywhere between $20,000 and $30,000 a month working for an organization. And I was very good at sales, and they had me starting to train and manage their sales team. I doubled and tripled their sales team's results on a regular basis. As new people came in, I'd get them up to speed and just ultimately turn them into, top salespeople. So I had a bright idea one day that, how am I ever going to make more than $20,000 or $30,000 a month? And I thought, well, if a company will pay me $20,000 or $30,000 to do it, what if I started a training company and went out and had multiple companies pay me $20,000 or $30,000 a month to do it for them? So I just had the bright idea of starting a training company, and the why was money, more money. I was limited at my spot. They wouldn't keep paying me more and more. So I wanted to duplicate and scale my abilities to multiple companies, thinking, man, if I had 10 companies that paid me to train people, I'd get, $200,000 or $300,000 a month. So I decided to start a training company. I quit my job and went out and started something called Desert Sales Academy. And Desert Sales Academy just trained salespeople. I went out on the road and I started to, do what I did previously at my other job, my organization. And after, 3 or 4 months, I just didn't see the results. I couldn't accomplish what I did at my previous organization. So I just decided to figure out, what is the problem? Why is it not working? And I realized that there was 4 fundamental key ingredients to train somebody effectively. The first one was good content, which I still had because I was training the same content that I trained before. The second one was repetition. The third one is practice and role play. And the fourth one is accountability. You see, when I worked somewhere, people worked for me, so I could hold them accountable. I could inspect what I expect. I could practice and role play, and I could provide the repetition necessary. And I realized that out on the road, I was only in the building or the company or the seminar room or hotel room or wherever I was doing my thing. I was only there for a day, maybe 2 or 3 at the most. And so I was lacking the repetition. I couldn't hold them accountable, and I wasn't there long enough to kind of practice and role play with each and every one because I was training up to sometimes, 50 or 100 people at a time. And so that's when I decided to build LightSpeed. And LightSpeed I created for myself originally. And it's a software, it's a web-based interactive software that's not just a training system, an online training system. It's a technology that we developed from scratch to be able to emulate what we did in real life and provide the 4 key ingredients to an effective training program. I put my content in the system after we created it, deployed it within my groups that I was training, and sure enough, the results skyrocketed. And then I got to a point where my company kind of, I would say, plateaued. I could only get so much business with my recognition, with my name. Nobody really knew who I was. I had to basically compete against people like Grant Cardone and Joe Verdi and, Zig Ziglar and Tony Robbins. There was all these big name people out there. And when I knocked on the door trying to get their training business, they would tell me that they used other people, these other name brand, trainers or gurus or whatever particular niche they were in. And that's when I decided, you know what? I'll bet you they're having the same trouble I was. And so I went and approached the brand names and said, listen, I've got a technology that no one else has. I developed it specifically to train people better, provide accountability, etc. Why don't I take my name off of it, take my content out of it, let you put your name on it, put your content in it, and see how it works for you. Not to mention it creates recurring revenue, and it makes a bigger impact with what you're trying to accomplish. So fortunately, a couple of them, did it, and it worked very well for them, and it grew very rapidly. And that's when I decided I'm going to get out of the training business. There's a million people. There's a billion subject matter experts out there, and I don't want to compete. I'd rather collaborate. And then I started licensing my software to those people. And then that's when LightSpeed VT was born. And ultimately, 18 years later, here we are today. So that's a long way of saying, very little.
How did you get so smart?
Trial and error. I learned everything the hard way. One of these days I'm writing a book. I'm writing it now, but I don't know when it'll be finished. But the book is called The Hard Way. And it's basically stuff I learned the hard way so you don't have to. But it goes back all the way from when I was 6 years old up until, just last month.
So when you dropped out of school, from the point of dropping out of school to, you have this essentially a tech company or not tech, but a highly complicated in some respects, things that other people can't do. How did you learn to do all that stuff, or was that something that was naturally gifted, or did you take a lot of classes?
I didn't learn to do it. I didn't build it myself. I found people that were, skilled in that and convinced them to build it for me. They built my vision. So all I had was the concept and the vision. I didn't know how to build any of it. Matter of fact, the people I approached in the beginning, which are now, I eventually bought that company and absorbed them. But ultimately, the people I approached at first didn't think it could be built and thought I was nuts. But I, just kept telling them that it's totally possible. You just tell the computer what to do. It's all code. And ultimately, it's not that difficult. So I convinced them after about 6 months to give it a shot.
That's a great point. You don't have to be the smartest man in the room, but you have to know how to find some of those smart people.
I mean, you just got to make a choice. I made a choice. I need to build this. That was the choice I made. Now, how I did it, again, I convinced them to do some work for free. I enticed them with some future premium dollars, meaning I could have wrote them a check for $200,000 to build the first version and revenue share with them. And I, told them I'd give them more if they would kind of front me the work. So I had to close people to ultimately front me the resources to get going. I didn't have the $200,000 to give them. And by the way, that was a deposit. The whole project was, and this was 18 years ago, would have been more than $3 million. They wanted a $200,000 deposit. So I decided, I made a choice to, close them on doing it for free. So ultimately, they did it for free to begin with, based on the concept, based on the business plan, and based on premium dollars in the future. See, some people think, well, I don't have $200,000, so they just stop. Figure it out, people. If you really want something, you'll figure it out, right?
Absolutely. Speaking of that, you're keeping it real, and you have a podcast called Dropping Bombs with the real Brad Lee. Love the title, love the description of what you do because you keep it real. But what are some things that stand out to you as you interview people? Common themes that make them successful, or things, or even, maybe weird things or things that people have said that have surprised you along the way?
I think the common theme that a lot of the successful people that I hang around and or do business with and or are on my podcast, just in general, I think the common theme is, perseverance, the fact that they believe that they can do it. And the biggest thing, which I don't know if they identify it or not, but I definitely do, is the ability to solve problems. Most people see problems and experience problems, and it becomes the reason they didn't win or they didn't succeed. And usually the ones I'm talking to, the ones that have reached certain levels of success, problems were not something that would cause them to stop. They enjoyed solving problems. I think if you look for problems, that's how you create business. That's how you create revenue. I mean, think about it. I could teach anyone how to start a business right now, and a successful one. You solve problems. You look for problems to solve. I could teach a 7-year-old kid in a neighborhood to go around the neighborhood and recognize problems. Look for problems. Most people avoid problems. We're wired to avoid problems. We're wired to be comfortable. And, it inherently causes most people to be average or find a job and be comfortable. Entrepreneurialism is not comfortable. Success is not comfortable. Believe it or not, the successful people do what they don't want to do, which is why they're successful. Most people want success so they can do whatever they want, but that's not how it works. You have to do what you don't want in order to get successful and be in the position to do whatever you want. And by the time you get in that position, guess what? You're still doing what you don't want. That's how you become successful. You do what you don't want to do.
Was there an aha moment for you when you first started your business that you said, all right, I know I've got something here. I know I'm going to be successful?
Well, I was naive. I figured I'd be successful regardless. I thought everything would happen in 90 days. So, I've got a 90-day formula that basically is how do you get anything you want in 90 days? And I just applied that formula and it worked.
I like it. Just do it.
Well, the 90-day formula is a pretty simple formula. First thing you need to do is figure out what you want. Because if you don't know what you want, it's very difficult to get it. So you figure out what you want is step one. Step two, you create a plan to get there, right? No matter what the plan is, you create that plan. You figure out what is required in order for you to achieve that. Then step three is you basically put your head down and go to work for 90 days. And at the end of the 90 days, you lift your head up and see if you are where you wanted to be or achieved what you wanted to achieve. And if you didn't, you just repeat the steps. And at some point, if you continue to apply exactly those steps, at some point you're going to look up and you will have achieved what you set out to achieve, and it will be within 90 days. It just may have been, the 15th one.
I like it. Now, you had mentioned Grant Cardone earlier, and a lot of our audience is familiar with him. You've been longtime friends. What are some ways that you two have collaborated and partnered together through the years?
Well, his whole training platform, Cardone University, is LightSpeed. It's how we collaborated. I approached Grant. That was one of the guys that I was competing with in the beginning. And I thought, man, I don't want to compete with this freaking monster. So I collaborated with him by creating Cardone University, which spun off to about 200 other things. But we collaborate on a regular basis. 10X conference, helping people, donating money, raising money, just pretty much whatever we see that we want to help with. We collaborate on a lot of that stuff, but the main collaboration is Cardone University.
I hope that you are enjoying this conversation with Brad Lee. He definitely brings the fire and keeps it real. Brad is friends with the super coach Michael Burt, who was on our show in episode 22. Coach Burt has a bunch of great books that I highly recommend. Now, our friends at Audible are offering our listeners a chance to download one of Coach Burt's books for free. If you are a new subscriber, you'll get a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial membership. To take advantage of this great deal, just visit audibletrial.com/success is a choice. And now back to our interview with the real Brad Lee. Now, you've been successful through the years, making millions and millions on your business, but has there been a time when things weren't as smooth, some time that challenges came your way and that you were able to overcome those challenges, or maybe even a time you didn't overcome the challenge, but you learned from it, maybe a favorite failure of yours?
Never. Everything's been peachy from day one.
Rainbows and butterflies.
Rainbows and butterflies, had no adversity whatsoever. It's almost like there's an angel behind me, just clearing the path. Nobody ever said no. I had money to pay bills every single step of the way. I always had excess. I had no struggles whatsoever.
So the secret sauce is live right.
That's right.
Make a good deal with somebody up above.
Yeah, realistically, it was my path was littered with trouble and challenges and, lack of revenue and lack of resources. But those are the problems that I became very good at solving. There's always a solution to any problem. And if there isn't a solution, then it's not a problem. It ceases to be a problem when there is no solution. So most people will not look hard enough for a solution. They will not get creative enough for a solution, and they basically cave on the problem. So a problem arises, and most people just quit or cave or stop in some fashion. I'd like to sound like I'm some, miracle man or some genius, but I just was too stupid to believe that there was no other way, and so I just found a way around. For the first 8 years, we didn't make any money. Like I hid my car so the repo man couldn't get it. I've done a lot of things that was, in hindsight, instrumental in my success. But as it was happening, it was just me dealing with problems and challenges. Like, for example, who do you pay if you only have a certain amount of money? If you have $10,000 and your bills are $15,000, what do you do? That's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you solve that problem? How do you get around that issue? And that's what I became very good at. I was very, very good at creating solutions to everyday problems and problems that entrepreneurs are out there facing every single day. But rather than give up or cave, I just kept going, found different ways. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. Hiding my car. I mean, the repo man was out for my vehicle, right? I didn't have the money to pay the car payment. Why? Well, because I needed it to spend to go elsewhere or to invest in this. I mean, it's just all these, and ultimately they're choices, aren't they? That's what I mean. Like, dude, your podcast is the title is exactly 100% accurate. Success is a choice made up of choices. The choices you make will reflect the quality of life that you have. The better choices, the better life. My life is where it is today based on the choices that I made. There were many, many choices. What'd you eat this morning was a choice. Did you go to the gym was a choice. Did you pay a bill was a choice. Which bill do you pay? You've heard the old, I got more month than I got money. So it's like, your check runs out, 5 days before the next check appears. What do you do? So all those little choices are really what equal whether you win or lose. So if you really get good at your choices, that's kind of the key to it all. But that's what I mean by solving problems. So your question was, what's the one thing all successful people have? They solve problems. I mean, Grant Cardone still has problems. They're just bigger problems. And you know what Grant says? You want big problems. The bigger your problems, the better. Like, pray for massive problems, because the bigger the problem, the more opportunity there is. Problems are really opportunity.
So you mean you don't have it all together and it's not smooth sailing now that you've achieved success?
No, we still have problems every single day. Like, I was just sitting here looking at our marketing material. Now, there's a problem, in my opinion, with them. They're not as clear and concise as I would like. So now my problem is, why am I paying someone to do this if I have to do it myself? That's a problem. Why would I exchange money in exchange for services that I'm not happy with? So obviously, you're dealing with a longtime employee or someone. So there's always challenges every single day. There's problems that occur every single day. We're just at a different level. Like, some people joke, my problem is figuring out which car to drive, but guess what? That's still a problem. Which one do I drive? And at the end of the day, people make jokes about that. Like, well, I wish I had your problems. I promise you that if you threw your problems in the middle of a room with a group of people, most people would be fighting to get their problems back once they see everybody else's problems. Mm. I was pissed off that I had no shoes until I met a man with no feet.
Nice. I like that. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, I come up with some zingers now and again.
Yeah, your Bradisms. You've littered social media with a lot of Bradisms that are awesome. What are a couple other favorites that you have?
I think one of my all-time favorites is you can't get rich making poor choices. Because a lot of people are making poor choices every single day, and they just don't get it. I have a big family. Some of my, brothers and sisters, cousins, I just can't understand how they're where they are, because it's boils down to choices they're making. So, if you get off work and choose to stop by the bar and get hammered and spend your paycheck, and then you wake up and wonder why you don't have rent. Like, that's the simple choice that you just made. Well, I like to hang out with the fellas and drink some beer and shoot some pool. What's the problem? I want to unwind. Well, the problem is you can't pay your rent. So again, I mean, like, is that a hard choice to make? Pay rent or get drunk during the week hanging out with the fellas. Like, that literally, Jamy, is what stuff usually boils down to. If you're listening to this podcast, look at the choices you're making on a daily basis. And if they're not good choices, you already know. I ate a donut for breakfast. Is that a good choice? No. I skipped the gym because I was tired. Is that a good choice? I had a few problems, so I scrapped my entrepreneurial idea. Was that a good choice? Because let's face it, Jamie, sometimes it is a good choice to stop what you're doing. I started multiple businesses before I started LightSpeed, and I shut them down. The smartest choice was to stop doing it. But at the end of the day, people say, never give up, never give up. That's not true, man. You need to be able to give up on some things depending on what it is that you were trying. Like I may have been semi-successful competing with Grant and the rest of these people. Who knows? I could have ended up bigger. I could be the world's most renowned, guru right now. However, if you assessed both paths, one was littered with obstacles, competition, bigger names, challenges. The other one was free and clear. There was nobody on that road. Why would you choose to take the hardest way when the easier way makes more sense? Now, you listen to some of these gurus, and what do they tell you? Take the hard way, never give up, put your head down. Challenges are, an indication that something's going right. And again, it's just not necessarily true. There's a lot of gurus out there that'll tell you stuff that's total BS.
Well, you're going to have challenges even when things are going well. So why bring upon challenges that you don't need? But, what doesn't get talked about a lot, too, is you have to use that little brain of yours that God gave us. You have to use some wisdom once in a while. So it's not necessarily that you're giving up on yourself or giving up overall, but you're using wisdom and going a different direction, like you said.
Absolutely. Just pay attention, look at the data, make the best choice you can, and then never give up. Again, when you hear never give up, people think, I'm gonna start a business where I'm, creating grass green golf balls, and after 5 years, it's not working well. And the gurus are telling you never give up. So someone just never gives up on grass green golf balls. That's not what never give up means. Never give up means never give up the pursuit of what you're looking for. You need to make adjustments. At my last 10X conference, I spoke, and my talk was on 5 factors of success. The first one, you have to take a chance. Most people are afraid of that one. They're too afraid of what might happen if they fail, what might happen if they don't, make it. When, in order to take a chance, you want to fear the opposite. See, most people fear what will happen if they don't make it. I would say fear what will happen if you don't try. See the difference?
Yeah.
So both people fear. You're not getting rid of fear, but change what it is that you fear. Fear what will happen if you don't take the shot. Because if you don't take a chance, you guaranteed are not going to make it. So take a chance was factor number one. Then solving problems, get really good at solving problems, look for problems, wake up in the morning and face them, run for them, run towards them, welcome them. And the faster you can solve problems, the more successful you become and the better skilled you are and the more experience you get. I mean, like when I first started, I would read a contract and agree to things that were just completely insane. Now I can read an agreement and catch the littlest of things. Well, if I didn't, have all those problems to learn from, I wouldn't be able to do that. So now, again, look at my skill set when it comes to reading agreements. The third one was make adjustments. Listen to the data, pay attention to what's going on, listen to feedback. All feedback is relevant. See, again, some gurus will tell you, don't worry what other people think. Don't listen to what other people think. That is bad advice. You should listen to what other people think. It just shouldn't alter and make a decision for you, but you want to factor it all in. That's the data that you're paying attention to in order to make adjustments. You just simply make adjustments. Like when I started my training company, it was a training company, in person, live. Then I made an adjustment. I put it online. Then I made an adjustment. I became the platform. Right now, believe it or not, 2018 and 19, I'm actually going to start creating content again. So now I'm making another adjustment. right? Where I'm not just a solution and a technology that other people use. I'm going to create content as well. So now I'll be the solution and the content. It's another adjustment I'm making. You have to make adjustments. 3 is you need to train. You need to develop yourself for a multitude of reasons. One is you subconsciously don't think you're worth it. You're never going to outperform your own value. So at the end of the day, you need to train and develop yourself, right? You need to improve yourself on a regular basis. And the more you do that, believe it or not, the more confident you become, the more value you expect. You start to believe that you're worth more. And once you have the belief that you're worth more, you stop settling for less. You stop tolerating average because you'll demand a higher level. Why? Because you deserve it. Why? Because you put in the work. You've developed yourself. You're not the same person. You've put in effort and work and money and time developing your skills and your knowledge. So you need to train. And then the 5th one is never give up. And when I say that, it's not never give up a stupid idea. You need to give that up, right? If you're smoking, if you're a cigarette smoker, give it up, right? That's not what I mean when I say never give up. I mean, never give up in the pursuit, because I should have given up 100 times in the first 5 years. Anyone else probably would have. I didn't. I just made adjustments. I followed the other 4. And pretty soon after about, I'd say 10 years, I started to get a little ground. And then I started to, understand that, hey, I was right. But if I didn't keep going, it never would have happened. Right now, I'd probably be working for Grant Cardone.
Well, I want to get you out on a one last question, because this is about choices, and we want to make good choices all the time. So next time our listeners or myself visit Las Vegas, where do we need to go? What do we need to do if we're in Vegas?
Let's see. Well, you need to go check out the Vegas Knights at the T-Mobile Arena if they're here playing. You need to fold up your money and put it in your pocket, because all these fancy casinos are not built on people winning. So odds are you're going to lose. So the best bet is don't gamble at all. You need to check out some shows, some 5-star restaurants, and freaking swing by LightSpeed, take a tour, and who knows, maybe we'll do an episode of Dropping Bombs.
That would be nice. Now, is there a show that you're fond of?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. Obviously, they come and go, different shows. So, other than the ones, but O is a great show, and one called Ka, K-A. Those are some mind-blowing shows. And then also Love, which is the Beatles. Okay. That's a pretty cool show. If you like Michael Jackson, that's another good show called One.
Nice. Well, where can people connect with you or learn more about what you got going on?
And you can check out everything I do, pretty much everything I do, at bradlee.com. That's L-E-A. You can follow me on social media just by typing in The Real Brad Lee. But quite frankly, swing by the office, chit chat, come hang out, say hi. Ultimately, I'm on social media. I'm getting somewhat of a following. I'm becoming what would be considered an influencer, quote unquote, because all I do is try to, throw stuff out there that'll help people, figure out their own issues. That's what Dropping Bombs is all about. We just discuss problems and challenges and things that happen. And as the Bomb Squad, I call my listeners the Bomb Squad. As the Bomb Squad, listen, sometimes they're funny and you just get a laugh out of it. And sometimes, you actually hear something that you apply into your own life, and it miraculously solves a challenge or a problem that you're having. So I just put it out there for that. My Instagram's where I'm most active, but again, love for you guys to follow me for sure.
I love it, man. We will definitely be putting those things in the show notes so people can check you out and follow you. And we really appreciate your time. I know you're busy, and thanks so much for dropping bombs on us today.
My pleasure. You're gonna have to do an episode of Dropping Bombs, Jamie.
I hope that you enjoyed listening to the real Brad Lee. Check out what he is doing on social media because it's really good. Thanks so much for tuning into the show today. And remember that you can get a free audiobook download and 30-day trial membership by visiting audibletrial.com/success-is-a-choice. Also, if you haven't already done so, please take just a quick second to hit that little subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Thanks so much, and until next time, remember that success is a choice. What choice will you make today?